Let's talk about the meaning of the Gemini sign field in astrology. The Gemini sign field speaks of how we take in, process, and communicate information. An essentially cerebral sign, Gemini wants to be involved in utilizing its intellectual capacities. Being involved in and exploring information is on one level how this sign field gets expressed. Gemini has ideas, wants to learn, wants to communicate. Oftentimes these qualities get expressed through a need to gather topics to study or explore. Compared to its opposite sign Sagittarius, Gemini is much more interested in simply the thrill of gathering and sharing information, rather than necessarily making moral or philosophical judgments on it the way Sagittarius might. People with a strong Gemini signature can be intellectuals, whether that is obvious and apparent or less so. In any case, they are psychologically in tune with the need to gather and process data and to communicate as much as possible. Communication can take on many different forms for this sign, as Gemini is also associated with versatility, or at times even being scattered. Writing and speaking are obvious ones, but people with a strong Gemini signature can wish to be involved with any method of communication. On a baseline level, this is a strong psychological need for this sign. Possibly related to the fact that Gemini is represented by the twins, people with a prominent Gemini signature are sometimes seen or described as two-faced or unreliable. However, this is a superficially described expression of some variations of the sign. It might come from this sign's need to have variety and to not necessarily commit to any particular field of information. Gemini is in one sense almost like a computer, gathering and processing information and data and moving on to the next thing. People with a strong Gemini signature can be the kinds of people who uplift others by encouraging them to be lighter, to see the lighter side of a situation. Gemini has an intelligence when it comes to being able to see many different sides to a situation. They can also be fun for others to be around due to their versatile conversation topics and many ideas. On one level of expression, the Gemini sign field can speak of anxiety and nervousness, which is related to their ability and tendency to jump from one pool of information or activity to another. While this tendency can mean they are knowledgeable about a variety of things, people with a Gemini signature might also need to learn how to slow down, pick a side, and focus on something specific. It is not a strength of Gemini to be especially committed when it comes to projects or activities. Their strengths lie more in versatility, adaptability, and curiosity. Gemini is related to the gathering of facts to add to your pool of knowledge. It wants to see the world with fresh eyes, looking at what new information it can add to it. Its opposite sign Sagittarius has to do with how these facts can color your personal palette of beliefs. Planets in Gemini become versatile, multifaceted, and cerebral. Having the Sun in Gemini points to the person's conscious identity and personal expression being tied in with the need to be curious, adaptable, and intelligent. They want to experience what the neighborhood has to offer. Moon in Gemini points to a kind of intellectualization of emotions and feeling states. These people can be especially curious about what they are personally going through, but in a more intellectual and analytical way than some of the other signs. Mercury in Gemini is a powerhouse of information and communication, interested in chatting about anything and everything and seeing many sides to everyday situations. Venus in Gemini wants to feel connected in a way where they are receiving a lot of information from various sources, perhaps especially glued to the news about topics that interest them, or being a social butterfly. Mars in Gemini is especially versatile when it comes to their activities, which can take on beneficial or not so beneficial tones. These people may find it hard to relax and also to follow through on projects. They tend to get energetic bursts, followed by quickly losing interest. In other words, their motivation and energy levels can be scattered and changeable. How does the Gemini sign show up for you? Leave a comment about your experiences and click the thumbs up if you enjoyed this and want to hear more.